Want to see a real estate agent not answer a question? Ask them, is this area safe? And tell me about the crime. Most agents won't answer that because they are afraid of being accused of steering or violating a fair housing law. I agree, don't steer. You shouldn't violate a fair housing law. That's wrong. But you can still help your client make an informed decision moving forward and point them in the right direction. Thankfully, I have 13 years prior law enforcement experience from street cop, FTO, violent crime detective. So the skills I picked up in that career, I've carried over into real estate and helping my clients make the best decision when they're choosing to relocate to Phoenix, Arizona, and buy a home here. If you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Rich, Brecklin real estate agent with Real Broker. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for giving up a few minutes out of your day to watch this channel. Now, today I want to talk about the crime and diversity in Phoenix, Arizona. And not just speaking about Phoenix, but really some of the more recent suburbs that clients have reached out to me and that are looking to move to. So we're gonna talk about Phoenix, Gilbert, Goodyear, Buckeye, Scottsdale, I'm running out of fingers, Mesa. So those are the areas we're going to talk about. So if we head over to my screen here, the whole valley is spread out, but Phoenix, there's 1.6 million people, 386 different neighborhoods. And if we look at demographics, the age group right here, the largest representation is 35 to 54. That's me. And then, 5 to 17. So all those people, probably their kids is next. And then if you look at the race and ethnicity, so largest is Hispanic or Latino at 42.6, followed by white at 42.2, black or African American at 6.7, and then down to Asian at 2.7. Now, one interesting fact is in Phoenix, 19% of the population was born outside of the United States. So again, a pretty interesting fact to learn about some different cultures there. And then going over into the crime in Phoenix. Now this is from Neighborhood Scout, all of this data. So you look this up after you're done with this video, of course, but Phoenix is safer than 7% of US cities. All right, we're safer than 7. And if you look here at the annual crimes, so violent, this was per 1,000, 8.49, property 31.77, and Phoenix violent crime, it does rank higher than the state of Arizona. And I'm not sure what year this is from, but 187 homicides, I believe it's from last year. So 0.12 per 1,000. Now the US average is 0.07. So it ranks a little bit higher compared to the US average. And that, again, is for violent crime. Now, if you look at property crime, again, Phoenix ranks higher than the state of Arizona, and it also ranks slightly higher than the United States per capita, or I'm sorry, as a whole. 4.61 per 1,000 compared to 3.12. And Phoenix crimes per square mile, you're at 125 versus 26 for Arizona. So not a good look there when it comes to the crime rate of Phoenix, but Phoenix has a lot going for it. There's a lot to do. It's, again, you can have extremely wealthy and extremely poor and poverty. Again, you can have areas with very little crime and also some areas that are higher crime. And you can look at this map here that shows, I'm not sure, again, the accuracy of it, but again, on Neighborhood Scout, it'll show some different hot spots. And then there's another website called, it is called Spot Crime. And I believe you have to pay for that. You get a trial, or at least a watered down version, but then you can see a more detailed view. I did have some clients who were moving to Phoenix and they looked at a specific area. Now, I knew that area in the crime. I sent this report. They also learned it was called Ambush Alley. And on their own, they decided, we don't want to live near Ambush Alley. We're gonna go somewhere else. And they did their research, used these sites, and then they made the best decision. Now, if you watch other videos, I love Gilbert. It's where we call home. And Gilbert is, it's growing like crazy. East Valley, and it might be for some too far from Phoenix. It's about 30 to 40 minutes from the airport, depending on the traffic. But if you look at the demographics of Gilbert, there's 267-ish, 1,000-ish people in Gilbert. It's growing. I've heard it can hold up to 330,000 with the infrastructure of Gilbert. But we love Gilbert, the downtown, Heritage District, some of the neighborhoods in Gilbert. It's a great spot for us and our family. It might not be the same for you, but those are some of the reasons we chose to call Gilbert home. But again, this is the top demographic of age group is 35 to 54, followed by that 5 to 17-year-old. So again, that's my family right there with my wife and I and our daughters. And then, 45% of Gilbert residents have graduated college. And that's another thing about Phoenix is Phoenix had a higher population of college graduates than the average for US. So that was an interesting fact. And then race and ethnic diversity, almost 70% is white, 17% Hispanic, 5.3 Asian, 3.8 Black, on down the list. Now when it comes to crime in Gilbert, again, we left an area that was higher crime. There were 34 homicides in Illinois where we came from, in Peoria, and there's 110,000 people there. So shootings in Peoria were common. Again, I was a cop there, and it's what we dealt with. It was just common. Now Gilbert's crime data, 51 out of 100. So it's safer than 51% of US cities and number of violent crimes. Again, you can compare this to Phoenix, but again, much smaller population. 284 violent crimes per 1,000, 1.06. And violent crime comparison per 1,000 compared to the rest of Arizona, much lower, 1.06 compared to 5.03. There were 4 total murders, 0.01 per 1,000 compared to 0.07 for the state of Arizona. So ranking well there. I mean, one murder is one too many, but just knowing per capita compared to some other cities, it's doing really well as far as safety-wise according to Neighborhood Scout. Property crime comparison, again, 10.4 compared to 23.2 for the state. So again, Gilbert, there's a reason why it is 51%. They're safer than 51% safer. You know what I'm trying to say.
Have you ever had a dream that you could do so?
If you've not been to Buckeye, done any research, Buckeye has some great areas like Verado, a really nice master plan community. You can go hike the Verado stairs, something I've done, really easy. But there's almost 100,000 people in Buckeye, fast growing. Again, the demographic 33 to 54 is 27%, followed by that 5 to 17-year-old at 21%. And then the ethnicity in ethnic diversity, 45% white, 43% Hispanic, 6% Black or African on down the list, and major language spoken English, followed by Spanish, no surprise there. And when it comes to the crime of Buckeye, so safer than 42% of US cities, and violent crime comparison per 1,000 compared to the state of Arizona, 1.58 versus 5.03. So again, Buckeye, if you're going from where we just were in Gilbert and over to Buckeye, that's gonna be about an hour and 20-minute drive or so. So if you're thinking about moving here and you're looking on a map like, oh, that's doable, that's an easy drive. You know, I'm not saying it's hard, but if you get on the 10 around 4:30, you're gonna be wish you weren't making that commute every day. I can promise you that. Again, and when it comes to murders, they had 1.01 per 1,000 compared to 0.07 per 1,000 for the US average. Now we're gonna head to the neighboring town of Goodyear, named after the Goodyear tire company. I love Goodyear. They also have a spring training stadium there. I think it's not the Indians anymore, the Guardians and the Reds play there. So worth checking out if you're thinking about moving to Goodyear. And Goodyear again, 35 to 54 at 28%, and 5 to 17, 18, but that over 65-year-old number, they're creeping up there. They're at 17.1%. Again, around 100,000 people, and race and ethnic diversity, white is at 54.3% and Hispanics at 29%. And if we look at the crime of Goodyear, so I have some friends who are Goodyear cops. and they'll tell me about how bored they are because it is so slow compared to the last department they worked for, not in the state. And they'll tell me all the time, just it's boring, it's slow. So that to me is a good sign. Maybe if you're looking to be a proactive police officer and stay busy and active, that wouldn't be somewhere you want to go. But if you're looking for somewhere, again, coming from words of a cop that it's slow and they're bored, maybe that's somewhere you do want to go. But checking out this number, so it's safer than 24% of US cities. Violent crime, 2.09 per 1,000. Again, below the Arizona average. My chances in becoming a victim of violent crime, 1 in 479 in Goodyear compared to 1 in 199 in Arizona. 2 murders, 0.02, again, below that US average. So we're good there. Chances of becoming a victim of property crime, 1 in 50 in Goodyear compared to 1 in 43 in Arizona. So it's always good to lock your doors. I don't care where you live. Before we moved where we are now, we lived in the country. I still lock my doors. There's no area that is immune necessarily to crime. But the last thing I want to do is make an easy target or an opportunity for someone when it didn't have to be. Next, we're going to head over to Scottsdale. So again, Scottsdale, around 250,000 people, and 24% of them are 35 to 54-year-old, and 24.4 is over 65. So you can see that trend of a little bit older population in Scottsdale compared to some of the other areas we've talked about. And then when it comes to college graduated, almost 60% are college graduated, almost 97% are at least high school graduates. So definitely a higher degree of education there versus some other areas. But again, maybe that has to do with a lot more retirees end up at Scottsdale. Something to look at. And also the income of a Scottsdale resident is higher than most, and the median home price is also going to be higher in Scottsdale compared to Gilbert, Goodyear, or Buckeye. When it comes to crime in Scottsdale, safer than 24% of US cities, and then violent crime 1.95 out of 1,000 versus, again, 5.03 in Arizona. Murders 7. So honestly, for a town that size, compared to some of the more violent cities that are in the United States, it's, I don't know, it's below the US average, so we're good there. 0.03 compared to 0.07. It is crazy to think though, over 21,000 murders in the United States. I mean, that's a lot of lives lost, sadly. And then property crime comparison per 1,000, 20.49 versus 23.12. And next we're gonna head to Mesa. So Mesa is the 3rd largest city in Arizona. I believe that's right, it's Phoenix, Tucson, Mesa, somewhere around there. It's their 3rd or 2nd, but it's big, over 500,000 people. Again, biggest age group, 35 to 54, followed by 5 to 17. And as we go into, as I scroll this around, the race and ethnic diversity, white is 61%, Hispanic or Latino is 27.6%, Black or African American 4.2%, and then out of the residents in Mesa, 28% graduated college. So again, looking at the college graduation rates for each area, they're just facts, just data to look at, and if that matters to you of where you want to call home. But again, Mesa it's huge. They have light rail going through there. They have some really neat neighborhoods, again, but they have from all across the board. They have some lower income and then some very high income. One of my favorite neighborhoods in Mesa is Eastmark. I've covered that in another video, but a really nice master plan community, good schools. It's almost like its own mini city within Mesa. Now this other website I want to talk about is called Spot Crime. So that's where you can look in a certain area and you can click on one of these icons and it gives you a brief synopsis of what happened. So on 9/19, just after midnight, 1300 block of Meadow Green Lane, there was an assault. And again, it gives a little bit of a synopsis of what happened. Now when I was a cop before, this information was used and we'd put it in our reports and then it would be disseminated to websites like this. So again, it's something to look at when you're looking at moving to an area. Now, I don't know how much it costs to join, or maybe it's free. We can look, I'm not logging in, but if you're looking to move here, something I would invest in is spot crime. Again, if you have certain questions on certain areas for other clients, I've done a driving tour where I've just put my GoPro on my truck and driven around, and that way you can see what an area looks like and if you're comfortable moving there and just the amenities close by, things like that, because you're not going to know if you're not from here, and you want to be comfortable in that decision that you make. And I'm happy to do that. And if you're looking to move here and relocate, click below, I'll send you my relocation guide. Or maybe you're not looking to move here at all, but you are looking to move and you're somewhere else in the country. I also have colleagues throughout the country, and there's a link down below. You can click there and I can get you in touch with them. But if you have any questions at all, please reach out. My contact information is below. Watch these next videos, and I will see you on the next one.